What we need to do is start to figure out how we can, I think, especially for the next generation of kids, how to teach them to regulate their nervous system so that they recognize that pulse of adrenaline as placing them in a compromised position. Like, we have to leverage the idea that being able to hear and listen hinges on the ability to be calm. So therefore, the ability to be calm is crucial to hearing and listening is crucial to our advancement as individuals and as groups. The problem is everyone's been trying to do this backwards. They've said we all have to get along. We have to cancel culture. We all have to, listen to one another. And I think, again, we have to start from the inside. We have to teach it physiologically. Now, I don't have a master plan on how to do that, but one of the reasons I'm here and one of the reasons I'm, teaching neuroscience on Instagram and not just in my laboratory is until we can learn to regulate the self, I don't think we're going to get where we want to go as a culture. But we need to.
So, do you agree with Dr. Huberman that changing the world is an inside job? Or do you think that changing the world is an outside job like cancel culture, EI, ad hominem attacks like you're racist and you're a transphobe? Does change happen outside in or inside out? And how do we collectively create heaven on earth? Those are the questions I'm asking today. I'm Carrie Blazer, the Divine Feminine. My soul's name is Sophia, and I have a free ebook below, my 6 Divine Feminine Self-Love Strategies that will help you learn how to self-reflect and create more love in your life. Today, we're going to get into a video from Warren Smith. He's excellent, and he has an interview with a radio host who's calling him racist, who's criticizing him, who's telling him, you should. It's been my experience that when people tell me I should, they're trying to control me with their own fear, guilt, and shame that they're projecting out of their own hearts. But again, I want you to take an opportunity to decide for yourself. I'm not you. What do you experience and what do you do to change your life? So let's dive into Warren's episode. And then afterwards, I'll do a deep dive into 2 of the lessons in my ebook, The Universe is a Mirror and Changing the World is an Inside Job. I use psychology, cardiology, neuroscience, psychology, because what I learned is that when something's true, it's true in multiple places. It's like you got backup for truth, all right? High trust. So let's dive into Warren's video and see how this goes for them. Make it bigger. Here we go.
And I'm trying to be nice here, but I can't. To me, that's racism.
Apparently, I'm officially a racist now. Where does race even enter into this conversation?
People like you, conservatives, who want to attack African Americans in a sense, or at least show bias.
African Americans.
Well, you're talking about DEI hire. You're talking about how kids wearing baggy pants, the sky is falling.
This is not about baggy pants. This is about something more extreme. The pants below the buttocks, perhaps a teardrop tattoo. You see Lil Wayne parting through the fog. Do you do anything differently?
I'm going to probably subconsciously behave differently. Is it dark out?
That's wrong.
Why is that wrong?
Because you have to have reasonable or articulable suspicion that somebody's committed a crime.
We're not talking about arresting someone or searching their house. I'm just crossing the street.
I don't even know what that means. What if someone's
If I
wearing
just cross the street to avoid a kid with his pants sagged?
That's not against the law. As long as you're not.
It was, but is that wrong?
Yes, it is wrong to treat somebody different.
How's
just
that treating them differently? Why do I not have the freedom to act accordingly based on my rational thinking?
This is a perfect example of this thing we're hearing often now, suicidal empathy.
And I agree. The man with the red shirt is making all his decisions based on what he thinks how other people should or deserve to be treated. That's a mental game. Our heart is a vortex. We project who we are out through our hearts, out through the vortex onto the rim so that we can see ourselves. What is the man in the red projecting? Because Warren is a former teacher who has a lot of experience with kids, pattern recognition. Pattern recognition, the more you can recognize patterns, the more of a genius you are. He's grounded in logic. He's capable of rational thought. He's not attacking the man in the red. So which one is more emotionally mature? Which one has better emotional regulation? And which society would you rather be in? Society full of the with the man in the red shirt, or a society full of Warren? And that's your decision.
People navigate the world based on past experiences, patterns,
So because somebody dresses differently than you,
not
you think,
dressing differently. Why does
yeah,
the kid wearing his I've encountered this
if I wear my
so
hat
many
like this,
times. The whole point is that this is mimetic. You turning your hat sideways is not mimetic. That's not a meme that has spread through a culture.
so
That's not what we're talking about.
if
That
I
looks
wear my hat,
ridiculous. There's not a mimetic pattern behind you wearing your hat like that. I've never seen anyone wear a hat
so
like that.
what's the,
I have seen kids with their pants dangling below their butt, and it indicates something. It indicates a larger pattern of behavior. And you're telling me if I pay attention to that pattern, I am morally wrong for using my rational pattern recognition.
yeah, because there's no stats that you can provide that would say if you're dressing with baggy pants, that means that there's a better chance that you're committing a crime. So I'm as law
So what
enforcement.
I see here with the man in red is a total external locus of control. So if Warren doesn't have instant access to criminal stats, he's like paralyzed from making safety decisions in society based on his own personal experience. I mean, Warren's probably about 35, 40 years old, taught kids, he's a smart guy. He has a very successful YouTube channel. So what I notice with people who have an external locus of control, who are constantly looking outside of themselves to decide how to behave, what does that person deserve? How should I? The do I have stats? All outside of me, as if inside of me has no capacity to recognize pattern recognition. If I'm in a city and I see a bunch of guys who are, low cut, who look like gang members, then I'm probably going to walk someplace else. And it doesn't make me wrong. And whether that offends them or not, I'm not responsible for their emotions. When I make myself responsible for other people's emotions, that's where the mental illness comes in. That's where the codependence comes in. This external locus of control. When you establish an internal locus of control and take responsibility that you're reactive and you can't have an emotionally regulated conversation with rational thought, like Dr. Huberman was talking about, then this is what happens. We're just like, shouting our emotions at each other like toddlers in a sandbox throwing sand. And this is, what we've devolved into. So I'm a Warren.
I'm going to treat you
I'm not pulling up stats when I make that decision. I'm basing it based on my past experiences, given the people I've worked with, the kids I've encountered. According to your logic, it is only moral if I have stats to back up my decision.
So based on that theory, if black people as a whole commit more crime than white people, should they be treated differently?
I'm going to treat the kid wearing the pants in that way differently. That has nothing to do with what you just said, and you still haven't told me why he's wearing his pants like that.
See, the man in the red is using bully triangulation. He can't win the argument, so that, but you don't have stats, but you don't have this, and you don't have this, and you don't have this. It's like it would be a never-ending argument of him throwing stuff at you to triangle. Well, nobody would, and everybody would. It's like he's not grounded in himself because he's projecting a lot of fear, guilt, and shame out of his own heart. But since he doesn't take accountability for what's in there and he's busy outside thinking like with his brain, closed heart, overactive brain, well, they should, and this is how I act because they'll feel and I'm responsible for their feelings. And so we're going to do DII and hire more people and suppress the white man because we feel guilty about the white man. And that's going to solve our problems. That's not how we solve our problems. Solve our problems when we heal ourselves, when we project love, compassion, and enlightenment out of our hearts, and we're capable of rational thought and civil discourse, which seems very challenging for the man in the red.
Steven Crowder about this, and he pointed out the same thing. He got very upset by that. The audience got very upset, and it became this whole thing about Warren being racist over baggy pants, even though I wasn't talking about baggy pants. I was talking about
mimicking prison culture where you have beltless
exactly.
Pants.
Yeah. But they're not wearing their pants differently because they're trying to commit a crime or they want to be a thug.
They were.
Okay, but there are all sorts of different reasons why people
I just acknowledged that. I told you about how many of my students were trying to fit in and cosplaying this gang culture. They would go home and they'd be like, the opposite when they were home. They would come in, act like they were these little gangsters, these little hard kids, and they were completely like the opposite when no one was looking. I understand it can be faked, but what are they signaling?
Point is that there is a larger culture surrounding the specific meme. And to be clear, I never said I absolutely would, but I might. And just saying I might and that wouldn't be irrational is enough to be accused of being a racist.
And I think what you're doing isn't irrational.
How is it
Because
irrational?
you're trying to make a connection between somebody that's wearing baggy pants and they must be gangbangers or they admire
that.
Well, I thought that's what you just said. You said you taught some kids, and I don't know what the sample is.
Why do people wear their pants like that?
Because they like the way it looks like. Why do people wear hats? Why do
they
people
like what it looks
like?
Okay. Where does it come from?
So every single person you're saying that wears, or the majority that wear baggy pants, admire gang members and violence. Is that what you're saying?
I literally just told you about the kids that have no idea. They're just cosplaying. They're just trying to fit in and be cool.
And how many kids did you speak to? Out of all the kids in this country, how many kids did you speak to?
How many would be adequate? How many would I need to speak to, Brian? What does that have to do with anything that I'm saying?
That claim that they do it because they want to be gangbangers or they admire gangbangers. How many kids did you teach? How many kids did you talk to?
Kids don't really communicate in that way. Like if you were to add, they're not going to tell you, yeah, I want to be a gangbanger. It's like, but you observe who they're hanging out with, the patterns, how they're behaving in the class, in between classes. They're getting in trouble on the weekends. You hear about it. Again, this goes back to rational thinking.
Donald Trump, you support Donald Trump?
I voted for him.
I know you, well, of course.
Over Kamala Harris.
Why? Why is that? It's because
we had a whole conversation about this. I think that was the rational move in that moment.
I mean,
I took the data of what I was seeing. I thought, what has the most potential? It could go awry. There's going to be downsides to both.
It has nothing to do with the color of Kamala's skin at all. None. Zero.
Wow. Why would you think that?
Real quick, the sponsor of this video is for guys who are feeling sluggish, less motivation, a shadow of your former self. And
I disagree with you. I think there are plenty of kids that dress very nicely and they might wear a shirt and tie and they also behave poorly and they do some very bad things as well. There's a lot of some of the biggest criminals in American history are white people that looked like they were. Scott Peterson, for example, is a perfect example of what I'm talking.
Gangbangers are the only people who commit crimes, but we're talking about a subset of culture, a specific cultural phenomenon.
I don't believe in society we should treat people differently. And I'm talking about law enforcement.
At a policy level, I agree with you.
Okay, but
kid with the pants should get the same treatment under the law. I agree with you. But I, as an individual, I'm going to cross the street.
Okay, well, we were talking about law enforcement. I can tell you, me personally, I'm not crossing the street because I see somebody wearing baggy pants. I think that's
it's up to you.
I think that's a little overboard there. I don't know why you would do that. But
what if you saw 5 of them? And you're the only one on the street, and it's dark out. You're in Chicago, and you saw.
I'll tell you what I would do. If I saw 5,
be honest.
I'm going to be honest with you. If I saw 5 people wearing Klan hoods, I would probably cross the street.
Okay, so here we get to it. The Klan in his worldview, they are, that's pattern recognition for him. He'll validate that in himself, but he can't validate his Warren's pattern recognition because he's very busy being right. It's acceptable to demonize white people in his tribe, but it's not acceptable to demonize Black people in his tribe. Why is that? I'll leave that with you.
Like, what would you do if you saw 5 dressed like that? They're dressed like Tupac or something. They're coming down the street and you're the only one on the street. What would you do, Brian? Would you not adjust?
No, I'm not a racist. No, I'm not a racist.
Wow.
No, I'm not a racist.
But we treat
he's
people
not a
differently.
racist, but it's legitimate in his worldview to avoid the Ku Klux Klan, but not Black people who dress like gang members. In his worldview, just making sure we all understand this. And he's not racist, according to what he says, but he wants Warren to rely on what other people say and not what they do. Actions speak louder than words. That's why we rely on actions for pattern recognition. How many women have gotten into a poor relationship because the man, I love you and I'm coming, and he never comes. But he said he was coming. He said. People can say a lot of shit and not mean any of it. Just saying.
Every day you do. That's how we navigate the world.
If I see somebody wearing a
You
Klan
just said
hood,
if you saw 5 people with Klan hoods, you would act differently.
yeah,
So you
because
do.
that's
You take
yeah,
in
you know why?
incoming information
You know
and
why?
adjust accordingly.
You know why? Because it's never been proven that people wear baggy pants are a hate group. But it has been proven that people that wear white hoods and are in the Ku, you're laughing, but I'm trying to give you logic, which you've been trying to
I
tell
literally
me.
just tried to point out to you, like, there's objective evidence that we could point to that there is an overrepresentation of crime in this
And the only
hip hop culture.
and the
And
only
you're
thing
not, you just don't want to talk about it.
no, but the only thing you've given me is anecdotal evidence that you spoke to some
That's
kids.
not
And they,
anecdotal. We can literally count the songs of the artists, look at the lyrics, and track the data. That's objective. And you're saying
but
you can't give me any evidence
you're
for it. And I'm
saying
like,
you would cross.
you
The
can.
street. You're saying you would cross the street because a kid is
Not
wearing.
necessarily, but I might. I'm going to pivot based on incoming information.
Okay, I mean,
Now take a look at the response from the audience when they start calling in.
That guy Warren, he is such a, he's like a.
The universe is a mirror. It's one of my teachings. So let's see how these people are talking about themselves, because that's the biggest tell in my book. The words that come out of our mouth come out of our own heart.
Too young to be a freeze-dried hippie, but that's what I think he is. I think he's hearing from all these crazy sides, and he doesn't know what the hell is going on.
To be candid, I wish you would never have him on again. He sucks.
Next time Warren crosses the street because he sees somebody with baggy pants, I hope he gets hit by a bus.
and I'm trying to be nice here, but I can't. To me, that's racism. And I tried to be nice. I didn't want to flat out say, Warren, you sound like a racist.
You try to be nice while bully triangulating constantly, inability to stay on a topic, to stay on a thread. Move here, move here. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. That's being nice? Or is the capacity for civil discourse while disagreeing nice? I'd argue the latter. Like, I could disagree with Warren all day long. He's not going to throw any ad hominem attacks. It's going to be rational, and we could have a nice, hour-long discussion while disagreeing the whole time. And we could even have lunch afterwards because he has a calm, regulated nervous system. That's the point. We can have civil discourse, we can disagree as long as we've done the work up front and arrive like a grown, mature adult with an expansive emotional range so that we have self-control, especially men. When men don't have self-control, that's a very dangerous society for everybody, especially women and children.
I feel like I am living in a parallel reality. Like, what debate are you talking about? What debate were you listening to?
Your first guest, man, holy cow, man. He's not all there, man.
That seems to be the
Like,
consensus. That seems to be the consensus among PTL Nation. I'm not going to lie.
You know something? You heard the old saying goes, we had the last word. So, Brian, we got the last word. So
Dave, you're right. And I hope you have a good weekend, my friend.
You can't just declare someone is wrong and that makes them wrong. That's all determined by the logic. And I've tried to make the logic as clear as I can here.
It's going to be very exhausting to go back and listen to that interview and then have my people post it on social media, because there were some points there in that debate that went south really fast. And I'm trying
to stop sharing now. Sorry, let me make the screen bigger. Ooh. But this is a situation that we're in. And I'm going to argue that, why are we here? We're here from childhood trauma. And so I'm going to bring in a clip from Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a family medicine practitioner who specializes in how childhood trauma impacts adults. And he'll start to explain why we live in echo chambers, why there's so much like identity politics, like why people get over-attached to a group and under-attached to their individual thought and their individual emotions, why they put other people before themselves. So let's listen to this clip, and then we're going to do a deeper dive into the kind of psychology behind this and what we can all do to become more emotionally regulated adults who are capable of civil discourse. Okay. Oh, yes, there he is. Love him.
What happens to a child where the attachment need is not compatible with the need for authenticity. In other words, if I'm authentic, my parents will reject me. If I feel what I feel and express what I feel and insist on my own truth, my parents can't handle it. And parents convey those messages unconsciously all the time. Not because they mean to, not because they don't love the child, not because they're not trying to do their best, but because they themselves are suppressed or traumatized or hurt or stressed. And what does the child do with that? Well, if I give up my attachment for the sake of authenticity, I lose my relationships on which my life depends. Therefore, there's no question. What becomes suppressed is our authenticity, our emotions. And then we become 25 and 30 or 35, 40, and we don't know who we are. What happens to it?
And that was me. So I know exactly how this works. I know exactly what happens when I shut down my heart and I overactivate my brain. I'm constantly looking outside of myself. I have an external locus of control. What should I do? I should myself all day long. I try to control other people. I project myself in unaware ways. And I'm just unaware. I want to share how I felt and how kind of empty I felt. So when I discuss this kind of balance between attachment and individuation and the challenges as a culture we have with identity politics, where people over attach to a group because they lack an individual self. When we have our individual selves, our nervous system is regulated and we're capable of discourse. But when there's a lot of fear in our hearts and it's closed down, we avoid our hearts. So you saw the guy in the red shirt moving a lot. Like, energy is a tell. Movement, action is a tell, right? I can say all day long that, I have $5 million. I don't have $5 million. But I can tell you I did. I can lie about it. But but showing you, oh, here's my bank account with $5 million, that's proof, that's action, right? Okay. So anyway, let me bring up my website and I want to share a picture because I know a picture speaks 1,000 words. Okay. There I was at 5 years old. I was cute. But it's this picture right here that I want to share. A couple of years ago, I saw this statue. And it's a statue of a grieving parent. And I really resonated with it. And that was before I had dove into the trauma that I had forced abortions as a teenager. And I didn't know until the last year and a half that I am also, or was, I've processed it through now, a grieving parent. The universe is a mirror showing us ourselves in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. And so our heart, the electromagnetic field around our heart is 5,000 times stronger than our brain. And it's a magnet showing us ourselves. So our heart, our vortex, which I'll show you the neurology and everything around that in a minute, the cardiology, but the vortex spins our energy out from our soul, our energy body. And then that's, goes up to the field, and that's what attracts in our life so that we can see ourselves. Like I was raped. I attracted Andrew Tate into my life through a personal relationship with his best friend, Justin Waller. That's in my book below, My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain. Then I attracted 2 decorated fire academy instructors into my life, all leading me back to my guy from my childhood, JC. So, and on my website, you can, read that story, but that's what I resonated with. And it really helped me accept and see myself because, when I had repressed so many memories from my childhood, I had repressed who I am, my authenticity, in order to be able to attach to people. Because I was so rejected. So I attached because I couldn't connect. And when I can connect to myself in a healthy way and regulate my nervous system. So our souls, physicists have proven that we all have energy bodies and it's all communicated out through our hearts. And the nervous system in our hearts, the structure is far more complex than our brains. And our hearts send far more signals to our brains than the other way around. And this is all proven by the field of epigenetics. It's like proven in a lot of ways. When something's true, it's true in multiple places, right? So when our energy field is filled with fear, guilt, and shame from an unhealed childhood, then that's what comes out of our hearts, and that's what calibrates our nervous system. And when we have nervous systems, like a plethora of nervous systems in society that are calibrated for fear, guilt, and shame, their fear, guilt, and shame is constantly coming out of them, and they can't regulate themselves. This is, a huge problem in American society right now. Well, emotional intimacy in the home is where mental health is created and sustained. We took the mother out of the home. Exploring feminine pain, that was me. I had to figure out why did my life turn out with so much emotional pain, physical pain, failed relationships, inability to be my authentic self. That's why. My mom was an alcoholic, my dad was a workaholic, and we were living in Western society, and that's what it produced. But let me bring up a little bit more for us to kind of look into how the universe is a mirror. And on the left, I love the map of consciousness. It really helped me. 2 years ago was the first time I experienced enlightenment. And even though I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies, I didn't understand that enlightenment is an emotion. And when I experienced it for 3 days, and as women, we stay in our emotions longer. Our nervous systems are more robust. We're designed physiologically for that emotional work, and enlightenment being emotion, which surprised me because living in Chinese Buddhist monasteries, like there's a lot of men trying to experience enlightenment. But all of these numbers on the left is how high our energy bodies, our souls vibrate at different emotions, with shame being 20 hertz and you're stuck in shame, right? Not moving very fast, you're stuck. But the most transformative energy is the fastest moving energy, and 700 to 1,000 hertz is the fastest moving energy. Hence, enlightenment is very transformative. So I can surf the waves of life and transform my emotions. And, I'm surfing that 70-foot wave off of Portugal now that I've expanded my emotional range. I can have, engage in civil discourse, not get triggered, not cut people off. I can make my point in coherent ways, which a lot of my life I had a hard time doing, even though I'm highly intelligent. Because my fear, guilt, and shame would come out, and I wouldn't know how to articulate it, and I wouldn't understand that it came from me. I thought that other people were the problem. I didn't understand that how I felt about myself was my challenge. But let's get over to this physics experiment, and it shows how the universe is a mirror showing me myself in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. And it shows that when my soul vibrates at 40 hertz, like say that's selfishness, then other people with 40 hertz naturally vibrate, and then that's the resonance, and then I'm attracted to it. And it's not that, they're right and I'm wrong or anything. It's that so I can see myself. But when I don't acknowledge that's what's happening, that's how I find my tribe. A tribe that projects a lot of fear, guilt, and shame. That was my tribe before. I was a liberal. I voted for Trump the first time in 2024. I was a liberal in Southern California. And I was a liberal when my soul had a lot of fear, guilt, and shame. And then when I healed and I brought up my authentic self, my healthy feminine self, then I resonated a lot more with conservatives, traditional, women at home, mother in the home, doing the emotional work, man provides and protects. That I didn't have that in my life, but I wish I had. Okay, start this for us. So you see when you have 512 and 440, there's no resonance. One doesn't notice each other. There's no movement. What draws our perception is when our soul, when we're moved by something, right? Oh, I was moved by that. That means part of your soul resonated with it. There's a vibrational match. There's no vibrational match. But in this next one, they're both 440 hertz. There's a vibrational match. There's resonance. So they actually move and impact each other. Lots of movement. Let me stop sharing. So here's my goal, and here's where, if you'd like to join me, self-love creates heaven on earth. And we're going to get into a few more things, but self-love creates heaven on earth. So you know what tribe I want? I want the whole world to be one tribe, acknowledging that we're souls having a human experience. They're souls having a buffalo experience, souls having a wolf experience. We're all souls having an experience on earth. And we mirror each other for self-improvement opportunities. That's how we teach each other to love thy enemy, to love thyself. It's the same thing because we're all in it together. We are all in it together. So I want to share, okay, let me see what other, okay, oh no, this is what I want to share. Two quotes, one from Einstein and one from Tesla. And then we're gonna get into, oh, the heart is a vortex, right? But let me show you another one. But Albert Einstein, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. The field meaning the energy field, the particle meaning the body, and the field of epigenetics proves this. So if I have fear in my soul, my energy field, then what does that communicate out through my heart up to my brain? Release cortisol, fear, cortisol, stress, fight or flight. I can't stay still. I'm here and I'm here and I'm here and I'm here. Like we saw the guy in the red shirt. He was projecting fear and then projecting it onto Warren unconsciously and then trying to hold Warren accountable to it and then shaming him for it when he really shames himself for it. The personal thoughts that we have. I mean, I used to have a terrorist in my head, all kinds of negative things at me, and I projected constantly. But when I took accountability for my problems, then I changed. I want to play a video from Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's like the godfather of epigenetics, about two adopted kids. This really proves epigenetics, that the field is a sole governing agency of the particle. And we'll get to the Tesla quote in a minute. The field showing that our souls control our bodies. So that epigenetics has proven that less than 1% of our diseases come from our genetics, meaning that more than 99% of our diseases come from our field. And I stopped getting sick about 6 years ago because I started spending a lot more time in the higher vibrating emotions and a lot less time in shame, guilt, and fear. Like fear is 100 hertz. Resonates at below 100 hertz. So do viruses, so do bacteria. The body is a mirror of the soul too. So if your body's sick, your soul is sick. And the cancer centers in America have proven that. They've studied it. 7 of 9 indicators for the capacity to heal are emotional. Wow. Well, let's listen to Dr. Bruce Lipton, and then I'll share the Tesla quote, and we'll get into how the heart is a vortex and an amazing video about how heart is formed in the embryo to really solidify that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle and how you can use that knowledge to help you change your life and change your world. Okay, the power of epigenetics. Here we go.
Whatever picture you hold in your mind, the brain releases complementary chemistry that matches that picture, and it releases it into the body. And the chemistry of the blood is what controls the genes and the behavior. Children, when adopted into a family where there's cancer running in that family, the adopted child will get the same family cancer. But the point, the adopted child has totally different genetics. What was the point? It was being adopted into a family where the programming of that child is what caused the cancer. It's consciousness who releases the chemistry to the environment that controls the genes. And you can change your consciousness, and you can change your environment. And all of a sudden I say, oh my God, we were programmed to be victims. It turns out we are masters of our genetic activity. And this is the new science called epigenetics.
So like he said, we were programmed to be victims. Whatever the programming is what the brain tells the body, because the programming in the soul, the consciousness comes out the heart, and the heart has, like 90% of the signals go from the heart to the brain and the other way around. So when the signal comes out the soul through the heart up to the brain, then the brain releases the right chemicals. Like if the soul has an idea of a nice cheeseburger, what's going to come out? The mouth is going to salivate. If I'm thinking of a hot guy, what's going to come out of me? Well, sexual energy. Then I'm going to get turned on, and my body's going to do that, right? Okay. So I'd like to get into how the heart is a vortex. and use and really lean on Nikola Tesla's famous quote. The universe is a mirror. Oh, sorry, not that quote. If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And this will really, kind of send that signal home. So let me share my screen and we'll get into this video. And it's just a phenomenal piece of information I found recently. And I hope it resonates with you.
Let me just read this because I think it's actually probably one of the best descriptions of the heart that I've ever run across. They taught you the heart was just a glorified meat pump, that it squeezes and pushes blood like some crude mechanical device, a hydraulic engine made of flesh. That is what they want you to believe, because if you buy into that primitive lie, you never ask deeper questions. But it is false. It has always been false, and the real science proves it. Dr. Francesco Torn-Guasp, a Spanish cardiac researcher, discovered what the textbooks refuse to acknowledge, that the heart is not a pump. He dissected thousands of hearts and found that the heart is a single continuous muscle band folded into a spiral. He proved that the heart works like a vortex generator, creating suction and torque, not pressure. He called it the helical ventricular myocardial band, and it changes everything. The real movement of the blood comes from pressure differentials, electromagnetic flow, and coherent resonance. The blood spirals naturally. It need not be forced through miles of arteries and capillaries. The so-called pump is not strong enough to push thick fluid through 60,000 miles of tubing. That is basic physics. That lie was dead on arrival. Here is the truth. Blood moves before the heart forms in the embryo. That is, by the way, a documented fact. It flows via frequency, resonance, and electric charge. The body is a field, not a factory. Your heart creates a toroidal electromagnetic field that radiates 6 meters from the body. This field syncs with the earth, the sun, and every living being around you. It is a resonator, a tuner, a conductor. It aligns the rhythm of your cells. It feels, it remembers, it emits, and it responds to emotion, thought, light, sound, and breath. When you feel love, grief, fear, or peace, your heart transmits it. It is the central frequency modulator of your biology, not a pump. And the institutions know this. The Heart Math Institute has measured these fields for decades. They know the heart has more neuronal cells than parts of the brain. They know it is a second brain. They know coherence in the heart transforms the entire nervous system. So why are they still teaching children a 400-year-old guess from William Harvey that has never been updated?
Well, I'm going to answer that question. That is an external locus of control, and that's the Christian worldview. But as we just discussed with the guy in the red shirt, when he has an external locus of control, his heart is shut down, his brain overactivates, and he's overly focused on what other people deserve. And then he gets controlling when other people don't abide by what, his brain is telling him. But when we open the heart, we heal our wounds, we expand our emotional range, then we're capable of civil discourse. And I'm going to leave the heart. There'll be a link below if you want to check out that video. All the videos will be linked below. But here's the last one. And I'm a mother of 3, so I love this one. This one is how the heart is formed in an embryo. And it shows how the blood's flowing first and how all the cardiac cells start to beat independently, and then they come together into coherence. It's a beautiful thing. All right, let me share my screen. Here we go. Before the heart beats for the first time, something far greater begins to move. Long before your heart ever beat, thousands of cardiac cells made a silent decision. There was no pulse, no rhythm, no sound. In the earliest stages of development, individual heart cells begin firing electrical signals on their own. Then something remarkable happens. They synchronize. Separate impulses align into one coordinated electrical wave. That wave triggers the first contraction, the first heartbeat, the beginning of a rhythm that can last a lifetime. I hope you enjoyed that. And I want to share one more science experiment that I believe I have up. Do I not? It was a synchronization. It's about how changing the world is an inside job. And so changing the world's an inside job, as we saw, when we acknowledge that our heart is a vortex, that our energy and our soul, how we feel about ourselves, that's ourself, comes out of our heart if it's programmed for fear, guilt, and shame, and that's what comes out of our heart. But when it's programmed for love, compassion, and enlightenment, then that's what comes out of our heart, and then we're capable of civil discourse. And as a society, we have a lot of work to do on that. There's so much hate mongering that, that's hate speech. Hate speech is that's the cancel culture, like Dr. Huberman was talking about. Okay, I found it. Let me bring it up and share my screen. Let me stop it because it's too small for me to share my screen that way. Just a second. Sorry, I didn't have this done before. Here we go. I think you get the point. So I know that when I'm at home, and all of our souls are connected through our heart spaces, which physicists have proven. Here's an example, a quick one. You know how a dog gets super excited 1 or 2 minutes before his owner gets home every time, even though it's a different time every day? That is the dog soul and the human soul communicating through their heart space. So when I experienced enlightenment, Dr. David R. Hawkins, the map of consciousness, taught me that I open attractor energy cells in my energy field, making my field more magnetic so that I can share all the wisdom that I'm unveiling in my soul, because every soul has the same wisdom and the same knowledge. Yes, people say we're made in the image of God. Yes, this is why. So just because I did it doesn't mean that you can't. I'm helping everyone expand their emotional range. I'm the heartbeat of the collective as the divine feminine. So when my heart's closed, it's hard for the collective to open. Like it was hard for me to heal when my mom was still alive because she was an alcoholic. She passed away on my 45th birthday, and that's the day my intuition said, accept your intuition and heal from your childhood trauma, because now I'm the matriarch. I was no longer in a very damaged heart. And the time for self-healing only started in 2012. As a collective, we weren't there yet. And I learned that we have to explore our depths before we can explore our heights, because our depths catapult us to our heights. Life is like jumping on a trampoline. The deeper you go, the higher you fly, all based on the laws of physics. So I hope you check out my free ebook below. I really hope you do. I have the book. I have a lot of free videos on my YouTube channel, and I really advocate for a DIY trauma healing technique. And I have a few long videos on there that will teach you, go over all my techniques. All right. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.